I begged the man I loved for 8 years to stay, and he left anyway. Now, 30,000 feet in the air, I'm realizing that losing him might be the beginning of finally finding myself. I'm writing this because my therapist says that documenting trauma helps your brain process it differently. She said getting it out of my head and onto paper, or in this case into pixels, could lessen the weight I carry every day. And maybe she's right. Maybe it'll make the chatter in my brain quiet down, even if just a little. Journaling felt weird, like yelling into a void. So I figured I'd post here instead, anonymously to strangers, because somehow it feels safer. Less judgment. More raw. Anyway, I'm still in the air. Somewhere over the ocean. Almost to Bali. This will probably be my last post for a while. I bought a one-way ticket. Not because I'm brave or spontaneous, but because I needed to run. I needed to put literal oceans between me and the ghost of a life I thought I'd be living. If you've read my earlier post, you already know the headline. My fiancé, 29M, dumped me, 28F, 3 months before our wedding. 8 years together.
Gone.
But this isn't about the big picture. This is about the moment. The night it all came crashing down. The conversation that ended everything. My therapist says I'll read this back one day and feel proud of my growth. That I'll see a different version of myself. A stronger one. Right now that feels like bullshit, but I'm willing to try anything. Plus, I've always wanted to be a writer. Maybe this disaster is the thing that finally forces me to put pen to paper. Or fingers to keys. So here it is. Vlog number 2, the breakup. We met in college. I was 19, he was 20. We were just kids, really. Somehow, despite all the odds, we made it through graduation, crappy jobs, cross-country moves, the pandemic, family drama. We grew up together. Fell in love in dorm rooms, and held on through life in tiny apartments. I gave him all my first love. First real adult relationship. First person I ever lived with. First person I ever slept with. The night it happened, I came home excited from work. I was bouncing on my heels walking into the apartment because I thought we were finally going to lock in our honeymoon itinerary. Bali, Tokyo, maybe even Greece. I had even maxed out my credit card to surprise him with first-class tickets. I was so stupidly proud of it. So in love with the idea of our future. He was sitting on the edge of our gray couch, elbows resting on his knees, head down like he was staring at his shoes. I should have known. Something in his posture just screamed wrong. But I ignored it. Hey babe, I chirped, dropping my bag. Guess what I did today? He looked up slowly. His eyes were red. Not from crying yet, but like he'd been trying not to cry for hours. Can we sit and talk for a sec? I remember freezing. My smile dropped, but my brain was still in denial. I thought he was going to tell me he got laid off. Or maybe he wanted to push the wedding back a few weeks. Or maybe his mom said something that upset him again. Anything but this. I sat down across from him, the stupid wedding magazine still clutched in my hand. I had sticky noted a page about floral centerpieces. He exhaled slowly. I've been thinking about how to say this. My whole body went cold. That kind of cold that creeps up your neck and makes your fingers tingle. Fight or flight? What? I said. My voice cracked. My throat was already tightening. He looked at me, and I saw it in his eyes before he said the words. I love you, Jay. I'll always love you. He said it like he was delivering a eulogy. I'm calling off the wedding. Just like that. I didn't cry. Not at first. I just stared at him. The walls went quiet. Everything blurred. I remember laughing, a short, humorless sound, and saying, "What?" He nodded, almost as if he expected me to be calm. Maybe he thought I wouldn't fall apart if he did it gently. I'm so sorry, he whispered. Are you kidding me? This has to be a joke, right? But he shook his head. And that was when I saw it. The weight he'd been carrying. This wasn't impulsive. He had thought about it. For months, it turned out. While I was crying over seating charts and texting vendors, he was planning his exit. You don't want to marry me? I asked. He started crying then. Which somehow made it worse. Because he still got to be the good guy. The emotional one. The guy who was torn up over hurting me. But he still did it. He chose to leave. He told me he hadn't been happy. That he didn't know if it was us or just life. That maybe he needed time to figure out who he was without me. That he felt like he was being swept into a life that looked perfect on the outside, but didn't feel right inside. I sat there in silence for most of it. Every few minutes I'd think, say something. Scream.
Beg. Plead.
But I just kept staring at the person I thought I'd grow old with and wondering how long he'd been gone from me. I stared at that balcony like it might answer me. Like if I just looked long enough, the memory would become stronger than the present. It didn't. It just stood there. Silent. Cold. Not mine anymore. You lied to me, I whispered, not even sure if he heard. He sat with his head in his hands again, like he was the one hurting. You told me you wanted this. That you wanted us. You swore, God, you swore, that we were forever. I thought we were, he said, voice cracking. You don't accidentally plan a wedding. You don't accidentally propose to someone. You don't get down on one knee with tears in your eyes and ask a person to spend their life with you if you're not sure. I realized then I wasn't even crying. Not yet. I felt hollow. Like all the tears I should have cried had dried up months ago while he was pretending to love me the same. You don't understand how hard this is for me, he said. And that was it. The final snap. Are you f***ing serious right now? I laughed. One of those ugly, angry, guttural laughs that catches in your throat like bile. You're dumping me 3 months before our wedding. After 8 years together. And you want me to comfort you? He stood up and tried to come closer, but I backed away. Reflex. Muscle memory screaming at me to protect myself. You don't have to make me the villain, Jay. You already did that. I'm just giving you the costume. There was silence after that. Long, choking silence that felt like someone had turned the volume of the world off. No traffic outside. No clocks ticking. Just the sound of my heart pounding and the faint hum of the fridge. Finally, I said, I gave you everything. Everything I had. You took my best years, and now you're telling me you never even really wanted them. That's not true. But it is, D. You didn't want me. You wanted the version of me who fit your life, and now you've decided that life isn't enough. He didn't respond. Just stood there. Useless. Silent. You know what hurts the most? I asked quieter this time. It's not the wedding. It's not even losing you. It's realizing I was building a future with someone who was already halfway out the door. He swallowed hard. I really did love you. Past tense. And that was it. I sat on the couch for what felt like hours after. Just sitting. Still wearing my work clothes. Still hearing the echo of I love you like it meant something. Like it changed anything. I looked at our balcony where he'd promised we'd drink coffee on Sunday mornings for the next 50 years, where we'd watched fireworks last New Year's Eve, bundled in blankets, his arms around me as he told me, next year we'll be married already. I looked at that version of us. The one I thought was real. The one I'd been holding on to like a lifeline. I gave you everything, I said. My voice cracked, and I hated how small it sounded. I held you together when your dad was in the hospital. When you got laid off and couldn't get out of bed for a week. When you cried in the shower and told me you felt like a failure. I know, he said, barely a whisper. I gave you my 20s. My time. My faith. Through your family's bullshit and your constant insecurities. I know. Don't say I know. You don't know shit. His eyes were wet now. Good. I wanted him to cry. I wanted him to feel it. Just a fraction. I wanted it to haunt him. I wanted the memory of my shaking voice to echo in his ears years from now, when he was alone or when she left him, or when he realized what the hell he threw away. I waited, I said, choking now. I stayed. I planned this whole fucking wedding with your mother breathing down my neck, and you ghosting half the appointments because you were too stressed. I picked out flowers and cake and table linens and a goddamn jazz trio because you said violins made you feel like you were at a funeral. So many stupid details I could list. The way we fought over napkin colors, how we agreed to have mini desserts instead of a wedding cake, the 3 nights I stayed up mapping out a seating chart that wouldn't offend your uncle who hates your cousin. But I didn't even need to say it all. It was written on my face. He didn't interrupt me. He just stood there and watched me with this quiet, awful patience, like he thought he was doing me a kindness by listening. And now what? I snapped. You meet someone new and suddenly decide I'm too boring? That's not it. Then what? What did I do wrong? It's not you, he said. I don't want this life. Then why the f did you build it with me? I shouted. My voice bounced off the walls and startled even me. My hands were shaking. My whole body felt hot and wrong, like my skin didn't fit anymore. Why let me buy the dress? Plan the menu? Turn down that job in Chicago because you said you couldn't do long distance. I thought I could learn to want it, he said. I wanted to want it. I stepped closer to him. Inches from his face. He didn't flinch. He didn't move. I didn't want to hurt you, he whispered. I laughed. A horrible, sharp, cracking sound that didn't sound like me at all. It was too high, too wild. It didn't belong in my throat. You didn't want to hurt me? I said. Do you think this hurts less because you did it gently? Because you didn't stick your dick in someone else first?
He winced.
Like the truth offended him more than what he'd done. And something in me just broke. I turned and walked into the kitchen, yanked open the drawer where I kept all our cards. Anniversaries. Birthdays. Notes he left me before trips. Little things that once felt like proof. I grabbed the one from last Valentine's Day. The one that said, I'll never stop choosing you. Every day for the rest of our lives. I threw it across the room. It fluttered pathetically to the floor, like it was too ashamed to land loudly. Then I grabbed the photo strip from our 3rd anniversary when we went to that cheap photo booth and made stupid faces, and he kissed my nose in the last frame. I ripped it in half. He didn't stop me. Just stood there, like he thought this was part of the process. Like I was a storm, he just had to wait out. You lied to me, I said, now holding the frame with our first picture in it. Every day you stayed and pretended, you lied. I didn't pretend. Yes, you did. If you had to try that hard to want this life, then every hug, every kiss, every good morning was a performance. And I was the audience. The frame slipped from my hand. I didn't even mean to drop it, but I watched it fall and shatter, and I didn't move to catch it. I collapsed into a chair. The one we bought from the flea market and painted together like we were a couple in a montage scene from a romantic comedy. I looked up at him. The man I thought I would grow old with. The man who said he'd love me even when we were wrinkled and boring and smelled like mothballs. I don't know how to be me without you, I said. But I guess I'm about to find out. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, but no sound came out. So I stood up, walked past him, and closed the door to our bedroom behind me. I didn't cry until I heard the front door close. Until I heard him leave. And then I screamed into a pillow until my throat burned and my body hurt from the sobs. I cried until I ran out of breath, and even then, I kept crying. Because it wasn't just about losing him. It was about losing the version of myself that believed in us. The girl who dreamed about growing old on a balcony with coffee and jazz trios and fireworks. The framed photo from our trip. Us grinning like idiots in front of a waterfall. I hurled it and the glass shattered against the floor, and it felt good. I smashed a few other things too. Including the mug B gave me. Sorry, B. You always said it was just a mug, but I know it wasn't. D didn't move. He just sat there watching me destroy our life like it was a movie. He didn't want to pause. His stillness infuriated me more than if he had shouted back. I fucking loved you, I screamed. He nodded, eyes red. I love you too. I still do. Don't say that. Don't you dare say those words to me now. I was standing in the wreckage of our relationship, surrounded by the broken artifacts of a life I thought we were building together. This wasn't me. I didn't break things. I didn't scream. I fixed things. I made things better. But there was no fixing this. Say something. What do you want me to say? Say you're sorry. I am. Say you'll fix it. I can't. That was it. That was the moment I unraveled. I shoved him. Hard. He stumbled back into the wall like he wasn't expecting it. Then I started hitting him. Not punches, just open-handed, useless strikes against his chest like I could dig through his skin and pull out the version of him who still wanted us. The one who picked flowers from gas station parking lots. The one who made pancakes in the shape of hearts on my birthday. The one who danced with me in the kitchen to songs we didn't even like. He let me. He just stood there and took it. And somehow that broke me even more. Because he wasn't angry. He wasn't trying to win the argument. He'd already let go. I hate you, I said, and even though it wasn't true, I needed him to believe it. I know, he whispered. I didn't want to lose you, he said. You lost me anyway. You said forever, I whispered. I know, and you let me believe it. I know. I know hitting someone is f***ed up and wrong, and I apologize and will control my emotions better next time. He didn't stop me, didn't push me away or flinch or raise his voice. He just stood there and let me pound on his chest like I was trying to wake something up inside him that had already decided to die. Like I could knock sense or guilt or love back into his body with the force of my fists. He just let me. You stole everything, I spat, barely recognizing the sound of my own voice. My youth. My life. My goddamn future. I know, he said again, low and defeated. Stop saying you know. I screamed, so loud and sharp I felt my throat tear. You don't know. You don't get to say that. You don't get to sit there and act like you're the victim of your own choices. His hands finally came up, not to block me or restrain me, just to catch my wrists, gently. Like I was something fragile. Like I hadn't just been screaming and breaking and throwing pieces of our life all over the room. And that touch, it destroyed me. It was muscle memory the way I collapsed into him. I didn't even think. I just fell forward, burying my face into the shoulder I'd leaned on through everything, job losses, panic attacks, holidays with family I hated, everything. It was the same hoodie he always wore when he made tea on Sunday mornings. Faded blue, soft at the sleeves, the smell of our laundry detergent and his skin. He wrapped his arms around me, instinctively, automatically, like we hadn't just gutted each other, like we didn't have blood on our hands. And for one stupid, f***ed up minute I pretended. I let myself believe this was just a bad night, just a fight, just another storm we'd weather together. That he'd pull back, look at me the way he used to, and say something stupid like, "God, I hate seeing you cry." But then he started crying too. He shook. His shoulders moved in these helpless little jerks like he didn't know how to control it anymore. His face was still pressed into my hair, and I could feel the wet heat of his tears mixing with mine. That's what finally broke me. Not the cheating or the leaving or the lying. It was that. Because I still loved him. Even after everything, I still loved him. That's the part people don't tell you about heartbreak. That it's not clean. It's not a door closing neatly with a satisfying final click. It's jagged. It bleeds all over your good memories. It mixes love and hate into this toxic mess you can't untangle. I didn't know if I wanted to scream or kiss him or throw him through a window. And maybe he felt the same because his hands gripped tighter around me like he didn't want to let go either. But eventually he did. "I should go," he whispered, voice hoarse and ruined. I didn't stop him. I didn't say stay, even though I felt it rise up in my throat like a scream. I didn't say please, even though some broken part of me still thought maybe this was fixable. He turned and walked into the bedroom. Our bedroom. The same one we painted together when we moved in. A soft sea glass green that took 3 coats and ended with me getting paint in my hair and him calling me a chaos goblin. I heard the clunk of the closet door. The dragging sound of our shared suitcase rolling out from under the bed. Our suitcase. The one we'd bought together for our road trip to Maine, when we were going to hike through Acadia and try that famous blueberry pie I wouldn't shut up about. I think that's when the full weight of it hit me. He'd already packed. He made this decision before the fight. Before the yelling. Before the glass on the floor. Before the begging. He'd made up his mind while I was comparing flower arrangements and color palettes and napkin folds. He packed a suitcase while I was writing vows. He came out 10 minutes later, dragging that same suitcase behind him like it was just any other trip. Like he was off to a conference or a weekend away. He didn't look at me. I was still sitting on the floor, cross-legged now, numb, next to the shards of the photo frame I'd smashed earlier. The one from our trip to Banff. Him in that red jacket, me squinting into the sun, both of us smiling like idiots in front of a waterfall. Our future had felt so solid back then. Like a sure thing. The cracked glass made it look like a spiderweb was crawling across our faces. He lingered near the door for a moment. Just stood there, hand on the knob, like he was waiting for some sign. Some parting word that would make this feel less. "I hope you find someone who wants all the things I couldn't give you," he said softly. Still not looking at me. "Jay, please look at me." I didn't move. I kept my eyes fixed on my hands, locked together in my lap, like if I just held them tightly enough, the rest of me wouldn't fall apart. "Jay," he said again, softer this time. Like he thought if he used my name gently enough, it would undo the wreckage between us. But I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing my face. Not one last time. Not when it was tear-stained and hollowed out, and still stupidly hoping he'd turn around and say he'd made a mistake. He sighed, and I heard the shuffle of his steps as he backed away. "I'll stay at M's for a while," he said. "Take as much time as you need here." As I needed. Like he was doing me a favor. Like he was being considerate, thoughtful, helpful. Like giving me our apartment, my apartment now, I guess, was an act of mercy. He lingered by the door, and I could feel his eyes on me, like a heat against the side of my face. That look of guilt, of worry, of maybe regret. But I didn't want to see it. I didn't want that to be my final image of him. "Jay," he said again. I stared harder at my hands. He waited. Just a second too long. Then the door clicked shut. And that was it. I sat there for hours after that. No dramatic collapse, no sobs echoing through the hallways. Just quiet crying. My face buried in a throw pillow. The one we bought on that weekend trip to Asheville. The one he always said was too scratchy, but still pulled onto his lap every movie night. I cried until I couldn't cry anymore. Until my body gave out, and all I could do was sit there, surrounded by the debris of the life we'd built, staring into the dim, bruised silence. At some point, the light faded. I didn't turn on any lamps. The broken glass on the floor caught what little light was left, reflecting it back in fractured pieces, like even the apartment was trying to say something. I don't know how long I sat there. I didn't check the clock. It could have been an hour. Or 3. Time felt soft and blurred, like I was moving underwater. Eventually, I moved to the couch. Not because I wanted to, but because my legs had gone numb and the floor was cold. I wrapped the blanket around myself, his old hoodie tangled in the mess, and curled into the shape of someone trying to disappear. I don't know why I'm telling you all this now. 30,000 feet in the air. I can feel the slight descent of the plane. The flight attendants are making their final rounds. The man in the seat beside me is watching something loud and violent on his tablet, and the woman across the aisle is flipping through a romance novel, chewing her gum with this rhythmic, irritating certainty. I should be focusing on the landing. I should be thinking about the meeting I have tomorrow, or whether the rental car desk will still be open when I get there. I should be doing anything but this. But instead, I'm writing this on a note app on my phone like it's a confessional booth. Maybe I just needed to get it out of me.
Put it somewhere.
Outside of my body. Outside of my chest where it's been sitting like a stone. Or maybe I'm writing it because I need anyone, to know what it felt like. To build a life with someone so completely that their absence feels like a limb gone missing. To love someone with the deepest, gentlest parts of you, and still watch them walk away without setting fire to the house first. To beg someone to stay, and realize later that the begging didn't make you weak, it made you human. Because I think we need to talk more about that part. The middle. The raw, aching, humbling middle. Not just the breakups and the new beginnings, but the part where you sit on the floor of your apartment, hours after someone you thought would grow old with you walks out the door, and you have to decide whether you're going to brush your teeth or not. That part is real. That part matters. And if you're reading this, if you're going through it too, I want you to know, you're not pathetic. You're not broken. You're just in the middle. And the middle is messy and long and exhausting, and sometimes it smells like his aftershave because he forgot to take it with him. But it won't always be this way. Because slowly, so slowly you might not even feel it at first, something begins to shift. You start washing the sheets not because you're trying to erase him, but because they just need to be washed. You buy groceries that only you like. You rearrange the bookshelf. You delete the shared calendar. You remember what it's like to stretch out on the bed diagonally and not worry about stealing all the covers. You stop checking your phone every 10 minutes. You start remembering how your laughter sounds without him in the room. And eventually, you remember who you were before you were his. That's where I am now. Somewhere in that strange, bittersweet in-between space. Still grieving, still healing, but no longer hollow. I am starting to figure out who I am. And she is not the woman who begged him to stay that night. She is someone else entirely. She's quieter now, but also steadier. She doesn't apologize for taking up space. She's learning to sit in silence, without trying to fix it. She cries when she needs to, and doesn't call it weakness anymore. She's curious again. She's interested in her own mind. She's remembering old dreams, the ones she shelved for someone else's comfort. And maybe, just maybe, she's going to fall in love again someday. But this time it will be different. Not because she needs someone to save her, but because she's already doing that herself. The plane is touching down now. The wheels hitting the tarmac with that little jolt that reminds you you're still here. Still moving forward. Still arriving. I'm not sure what's waiting for me on the ground, but I know this much. I am not who I was when I got on the plane, and I am going to be so much better.